When John crossed the threshold of his house, he was greeted by sounds that were familiar and surprising at the same time. He had arrived early and leaving all other thoughts deluded. He confidently followed the noises. He opened the door and a woman's voice warned, "John, just leave it." Ignoring the advice, John approached, making Brett Pampers Tremacira. He grabbed Pampers by his increasingly thinning hair and pulled him back. "It's over," John said coldly, closing his eyes. "Lift your chin," he ordered. "You can't hit me. I'm going to sue you," Pampers protested. "Forget about yourself." "Keep your head up," John said, his voice steady, hiding the rage he was feeling inside. "I swear I'll take you to court." "Do you even know who I am?" Pampers demanded. "Do you think I care about that?" John replied, still hiding his anger. Pampers raised his chin, reluctantly, playing the strong, but believing that I could endure whatever came. John smiled and punched him several times in the face. "Oh God, John. What have you done?" Maggie exclaimed. "Maggie, I have so many questions for you, but not right now. I need to get out of here before I do to you what I did to him," John said, in a soft but threatening tone. John never raised his voice in anger. He always spoke in a low voice, forcing others to come closer to hear his words. "John, do you even know who he is?" Maggie repeated, her eyes wide, putting her hands to her mouth in shock. "Do you really think I care? How could you betray me in our own bed?" "Forget about me," John said. He ran down the hallway, ignoring Maggie's desperate attempts to stop him and talk to him. "Leave me alone," John shouted. He went outside, got in his truck and drove to the liquor store to buy bourbon. Parked at Walmart, took a sip from the bottle, watching the cars go by. When her phone rang, she looked at the screen but decided to ignore the call. Maggie kept calling and texting, but she didn't answer. Finally, John couldn't take it anymore and answered the phone. "Hi John, where are you? Come back home so we can talk." "We need to move on," Maggie said. "It's over," John replied. "What do you mean, John?" Maggie asked. "That's what I said." "And by the way, that idiot Brett Pumper has already left?" John asked. "No, he woke up angry, threatened you and then left," Maggie replied. "Well, how good is it to hear that?" "I don't care," John said coldly. "John, how can you ask me that?" Maggie said. "I can't imagine asking the woman I married something like that." John replied. "Don't call me anymore," John muttered, hanging up and returning to his bourbon. The next morning, he woke up after sleeping in his truck, craving a coffee and needing a bath. It was already 7:30 a.m. He stopped at Walmart to buy some pants and a shirt. Then he changed in the truck. As soon as he arrived at the office, he was greeted by an avalanche of notifications. 37 messages, 20 emails and 3 missed calls. All from Maggie. At that moment, Bob came into the office, waving his arms in confusion. "What's going on here?" he asked. "Do you really drink bourbon or do you only use it for a bath?" "I'm kidding, Bob," the scent of the Maker's Mark, floating around the office. "It was hard yesterday and at night it was the worst," John admitted, looking at the floor. "What's up, buddy? Did you catch a fight with Maggie? If he comes running around like that, he's going to get even angrier," Bob said with a smile. "Forget about Maggie," John said, turning to Bob. "Maggie cheated on me with Brett Pumper and I hit him," John reported. "You didn't do that, did you?" "You're kidding, right?" Bob asked in horror. "I did it. Just before we got here," John said in low Bob. "What's the matter?" Asked. "I came back early and she was in our bed with that idiot," John said with the low Bob. "Or not? Are you sure?" Asked. "I stood at the door and watched," John said, showing his scratched hand. "Or not? Is this someone from a law firm? Did you follow him?" Asked. "He didn't answer when I left," John replied. "You've solved it?" Bob asked in low Bob. "Well, that bald idiot is coming for me," John replied. "It would have been easier if you had acted. It was a crime of passion then. Now it seems calculated. You're in a difficult position," Bob concluded. "No, I loved her. But why did he do it?" John said. His voice is full of pain. "I gave him everything. I loved her more than I could have imagined. But why? Continued John, a tear rolling down his cheek. Did you talk to her about this? Bob. Well, John replied. I really don't want to talk to her. You're not going to find answers if you avoid it. Bob said. Frankly, they preferred to know. This is already too much. I just want to disappear. John said wearily. You're really leaving? We have invested so much effort in building this place since graduation. He doesn't throw all that away. Bob said in amazement. I can't pay you for your share. John replied. We will find a solution together. His turned Bob. I'm going by boat this afternoon. They will call you as soon as I arrive. John said. John, wait a minute. Where are you going? Bob. I won't have any details until I reach my destination. But I'll call you. Please continue to process my salary. If something goes wrong, contact me and we will solve it. As long as I'm on the boat, I'll keep working on the design. Once I get settled, I will send you my new banking information. 4 direct transfers. John reported. John picked up the necessary items and walked back to his truck. Stopped at the bank to open a new account and pick up a checkbook. She left a note for Bob and drove to the port. The harbor was lively when he approached his 33-foot lake. The grey white, with a width of 11.5 feet. The lake had a compact but spacious cabin, a 500-gallon fuel tank, recently updated, and 2 engines flame, each of 350 horsepower, for an impressive speed. John leaned back in his chair, looking at the GPS screens and estimating the distance, the necessary fuel and supplies. His trip included stops in Virginia Beach, Charleston, Jacksonville, Cape Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale and Nassau, promising about 100 miles a day. I was hoping to get to Nassau in a week or 2, depending on the weather. A storm in the Gulf could slow its progress, but I was expecting it to move north. Planning your escape. It allowed John to distract himself from the recent turbulence. He needed to leave as soon as possible, fearing that he would be found out before he could leave. Once at sea, he realized that he would be alone for a while, facing the risks of traveling alone. His phone rang, but he sent the call to voicemail. Maggie's message said, "You need to talk to me. Don't stay away from us." This angered John. Don't leave us like that. I had thought about it when I was with Brett. John dialed her number. John, where are you? Maggie asked immediately. I've been worried all night and day. Where are you? It's not important. John replied coldly. I just want answers. Maggie asked. Please come back home and talk to me. Don't abandon us. Beg Maggie. You've already abandoned me once. Do you remember what happened at school? It reminded him of John. It was a mistake. Maggie murmured. I should have listened to my instincts instead of my feelings. John sighed. I'm in trouble now. He added wearily. Maggie sat down at her desk, looking at a picture of John, tanned and smiling while fishing. He used to be out, fishing or traveling for work. She had accompanied him on several trips, but he despised places like Mountain Home, Arkansas and Monroeville to the Bama. On his last trip, he had worked in the oil fields, north of Guatemala City, an unpleasant experience for her. He admitted that he often complained, while he was working under the sweltering heat. When he came back tired, she used to drag him to parties. Although John wished that Maggie would not work, she felt the need to keep busy. He went to law school. He earned his degree and eventually accepted a position as a legal assistant. Maggie wanted the thrill of working in the legal field, handling high-profile cases in a dynamic environment. One day, a junior associate called her into his office. Maggie, we have an intriguing case that's moving along quickly. It is a land transaction, which requires the approval of the city, and we need someone willing to go above and beyond. Are you interested? Asked the partner junior. Sounds intriguing. Where is it? Maggie asked curiously. Just outside of Washington, D.C., in Maryland. Zoning is in order. We just need the approval of the city. It may take some time, and I could really use your help if you're interested," offered the partner junior, Brett Pumper. "Sounds like an exciting project," Maggie replied. Late nights at the office. They turned into informal outings. First in a deli, then in a restaurant, and finally in a club. Dancing became a frequent indulgence. On a Friday, when returning home, Maggie realized that her interactions with Brett, they had crossed a line. The fact that Brett wanted something more from her, it left Maggie deeply uncomfortable. "We can't go on with this, Brett. We're married, but not to each other," Maggie said firmly. Meanwhile, John was checking the weather. The conditions seemed good enough, like to go to Virginia Beach. "I was planning to refuel there and then continue on to Charleston, avoiding Oregon Bay, after a quick stop at a store." He turned off the yacht's engines. He untied the ropes and left the port, to take one last look at his truck. He felt a pinch of nostalgia, as if saying goodbye to an old friend. Activating the autopilot, sailed through the Chesapeake Bay, and moored the boat at a guest dock. Pulling out his phone, he saw 54 unread messages, 30 new emails, and 5 missed calls from Maggie. John sighed, realizing that he would have to face all of that eventually. "John, where are you? You have to listen to me," Maggie said in a voice message. "This doesn't change anything," John mutters to himself. "Did you discuss our marriage with someone?" Maggie asked in another message. "No, you cheated on me and our marriage is over," John replied coldly when he finally returned the call. When all this started, John asked, "John, please come back home. We need to talk, I beg Maggie." "I'm not coming home," John stated firmly. "Where are you? Where did you go?" Maggie asked with a trembling voice. "You ripped my heart out. Leave me alone. Don't call me. I'm dead to you." "To God," John replied coldly. "Please don't go. Please don't go." I was Maggie on the phone. "To God, Maggie, have a good life," John said and hung up the call. Maggie looked at her phone in shock. Brett, who was nearby, broke the silence. "Come on, Maggie. John has left and Barb is not waiting for me," he said indifferently. Maggie hesitated but followed Brett to his car. During the trip back home, anxiety invaded her. He was checking his phone constantly, while doubt and anger took over her. Why was he always traveling or fishing? He thought bitterly. Maggie had believed that she could cheat once and leave it behind, hoping John would never find out. Later in the bedroom, Maggie fell asleep, but he woke up at 11 o'clock at night. Brett was standing by the door watching her. "Brett, we can't go through this again," Maggie said, her voice heavy with regret. "Seriously, Maggie, you loved it," Brett replied, smiling. "Stop it, Brett, it can't happen again," she insisted. "Now that we've crossed the line, I'm not sure we can keep working together without wanting something else," said Brett, told not serious. "This could jeopardize your job, Brett. What should I do to end this? I love my husband," Maggie said with tears streaming down her cheeks. "Once again that I hear your name, I will change my mind." "Fuck your husband," Brett said scornfully. Meanwhile, John was sitting in a folding chair, watching the storm that was raging. Decided to wait for it to happen instead of facing her directly. The crowd was passing by her, but his thoughts were still focused on Maggie and Brett. The memories flooded his mind, tugging at his heart. He remembered the first time he saw Maggie, in the student center, laughing with his friends. Her hair shone in the light and her easy smile captivated him. He had ice blue eyes that seemed to pierce through him. When she smiled at him, he blushed. While John was packing up his belongings, he couldn't shake the feeling that she was out of his reach. However, when he passed by her, their eyes met. "Hi," Maggie said. "Hello," John replied hesitantly in a shy but sincere voice. Although charming, John lacked confidence. A few nights later, he found himself at the door of a fraternity, carrying a keg of beer. "Hey, is the Gaviota Nest coming to you, right?" Maggie asked, walking up to him. John turned when he saw her there. "Yes, I suppose so. he said to an unsure of himself. Why didn't you say hello? Maggie asked. I thought you weren't interested. John admitted, blushing. You're not very talkative, are you? Maggie scoffed. Not really. It's complicated, John said with a small smile. Are you quite direct? He added. That's a skill, Maggie said, tossing her hair back with a laugh. Her laughter delighted him. John thought he would do anything to listen to her again. I have an exam tomorrow, he said, changing the subject. So what is it from? Maggie asked. Engineering, thermodynamics, John replied. That's out of my league, Maggie said, smiling. I like engineering because it has rules that can to use creatively, John explained with a smile. I don't understand you very well, Maggie admitted to a smiling. That's the idea, John said with a shrug of his shoulders. If I saw you on the other side of the room, I would rate you at least a 9, John said. If you smile, a solid 9.5. If you laugh, a 10. I would rate myself with a 5. Maybe a 6, Maggie replied with a laugh. I shouldn't date someone who is a rung or two above you, Maggie said. In the end, it usually goes to the person on the lowest rung. That's how I understand it. Do you really believe that? Asked John. Absolutely. I admire you, but I know you're not perfect, Maggie said. I tend to focus too much on my studies or projects. It's just part of my personality, John admitted, smiling in a way Maggie found encantadora. They got into conversation with ease, turning off the party noises around him. John couldn't help but be attracted to her. Despite the chaos that surrounded them, John was sitting in the student center reading. A cheerful blonde came up to him. It was Mindy, his ex-girlfriend. Next to her was Maggie. Hi John, Mindy said. Hi Mindy, replied John Contono neutrally. Maggie stepped forward. I don't even know your name, he said with a mocking smile. If I'm gonna sigh for a lost love, you should at least know your name, John said, introducing himself. Maggie, said she, shaking his hand firmly. Despite the strength of his grip, his touch was surprisingly gentle. They talked until the night fell, their conversation full of warmth and laughter. John shook Maggie's hand firmly. Although his touch was surprisingly gentle, they talked late into the night, realizing eventually that Mindy had run away, without them noticing. Thanks for your time, Maggie. Have a nice weekend, John said, getting ready to leave. Bye, be on the lookout for you, John, Maggie replied with a wink. Then, with a playful smile, he added, if you ask me out, I'd probably say yes. Maggie, your self-esteem out of 5 compared to my idea of you. Like a 10 doesn't make much sense, John said thoughtfully. Appearance is not everything, and you are definitely more than that in my eyes. Now that I've seen how smart and kind you are, I'd say you're closer to a perfect 10. Don't underestimate yourself. You're tall and fit but not too fit. And you have an awesome face. Maggie hesitated, her confusion evident. Why am I making you nervous? He asked John, searching with the look in her eyes. When you laugh, it brightens my day, she continued. Your smile makes my knees weak. Even when you talk about topics that I don't find so interesting. I'm hung up on every word. I'd do anything to see you laugh again. Maggie laughed, and John smiled, lost in thought. It's hard to resist, he admitted. But we put in that one day you will break my heart and it will be my fault. Did you just say that you're in love with me? I ask Maggie. I wince with curiosity and surprise. John realized that he had said too much. I need to go. See you later, he said quickly, crossing the room. John is waiting. Maggie called him. Please don't make me beg. Just agree to have dinner with me tomorrow, I beg. He hesitated for a moment before shaking his head. I have an exam on Thursday morning, I explain. How about Thursday night? His turned Maggie with hope. I can't on Thursday, but Friday is going well for me. John replied after thinking about it for a moment. Great, I'll see you here at 6, Maggie said, her smile lighting up her face. She gave John a quick kiss on the cheek. Before hurriedly leaving, John watched her through the window, a slight smile on his face. A man next to her let out a soft laugh. You're out of luck, kid. She's a winner, the man said with a mocking smile. John put the memories behind him and leaned back in his chair, watching the tireless rain falling outside the window. Feeling the cold to the bone, he retreated to the cabin. She got into bed and let her tears mingle with the rain on his face. He deeply missed Maggie and promised himself that I wouldn't make the same mistake again. The next morning, the warm sunlight. He entered the room. John cooked scrambled eggs and sat down at the small table, trying to push thoughts of Maggie away. Looking at her phone, she noticed messages from her children, Jimmy and Sydney. Jimmy, who had recently graduated from college and started an internship, she called him to inform him that he no longer needed financial support. Sydney, a PhD student. I admired John's adventurous spirit. They had a light talk about ocean engineering, with John playfully reminding him that everything oxidizes in salt water. For the first time in days, Sydney smiled. I saw you called, Sid. What did you want? John asked. I just wanted to know where you are, Sydney replied. I'm on a traveling vacation. Mom's been a little crazy, John said vaguely. Dad, what happened? Sid asked with obvious concern. You don't have to worry about that, buddy. I just knew I needed a break, John replied. Mom wants to know where you are. She's worried, Sid said. If I tell you, he'll only tell her. Please stay out of this, John said firmly. Dad, what's going on? Sid asked again more insistently. Nothing in particular. I just wanted to let you know that I'm out of town. If you need anything, call me. If I don't answer, leave a message, John said, avoiding further questions. Are you on a boat? Are you going north or south? Sid asked. Yes, I'm on a boat, John replied dryly. Which way did you go? Sid insisted. I really need to get going, Sid. I'll call you later. I love you, John said, dodging her question. I love you too, Dad. Sid answered gently. Then Jimmy called. Dad, where are you? What have you done? Mom's freaking out. He calls me every hour. What's happening? Jimmy asked, bombarding John with questions. I didn't do anything, John said. Just go home. He's doing immature, Jimmy said, annoyed. Jim, wait. Don't take this side until you know the whole story. I need some time. I'll be in touch from time to time, John said firmly. If you can't explain what happened, don't tell me what to do, replied Jimmy. Jimmy's tone triggered John's frustration. Don't take this side until you understand the situation. Then you can make your decision, repeated John. Mom thinks you have a girlfriend, Jimmy said coldly. I'm on a work trip. Your mom can keep her clothes, the house and the car. I've never had a girlfriend, John said wearily. Please don't call me Jimmy. My name is Jim, Jimmy said curtly. You're acting like Jimmy now, John retorted. Let's not go back to this. Have to go. John had always had a strong bond with his children, but Jimmy had a quick temper, and he often took his mother's side. Sid was more patient, but John knew that the tension, it would also affect her eventually. The weather forecast between Virginia Beach and Wilmington, North Carolina, predicted favorable conditions for navigation. John enjoyed 3 days of calm seas before the next storm system approached. During this time, I was planning to get to St. Augustine, rest and continue to Palm Beach. While sailing south, John threw his reeds of fishing by letting the autopilot take over. Maggie's memories resurfaced again when Becky called to relay Maggie's words. You were the best thing in his life, John. John sighed, remembering the moments they had shared. Senna's, a movie, a picnic and a barbecue. Exchanging a few kisses along the way. John met Becky at a barbecue. Becky, another vivacious blonde, was Maggie's half-sister. Maggie had given Becky John's number. I know, Becky said, but she claims it was the best night of her life. It looks great on you, just take the step forward. Seriously, John asked in surprise. Maggie wants more than just to go out on Saturdays, Becky replied. And what do I have to do with this? John asked, confused. I see guys harassing her all the time, Becky said with an accomplice smile. And yet John asked. You are attractive, funny, smart and a great kisser. You could open a kissing booth. Becky joked, laughing. John laughed. I'll call her. We can talk, but it has to be a sincere relationship. He said conformiza. Becky chuckled. Please call her. She's upset because she hasn't heard from you. He doesn't understand that phones work both ways. She might as well contact me, John replied. Becky sighed. I'll call her, John said, yielding. When John arrived at the sorority house, he saw Maggie and Becky sitting on the stairs waiting for him. Hi Maggie, hi Becky, how are you? I salute John. Hi John, Maggie replied. Becky turned to Maggie and ran her hand lightly over her shoulder, as if removing an imaginary fluff. Don't be late, honey. I'll be waiting for you upstairs, Becky said, smiling before running up the stairs. John, can we talk? Asked Maggie. Sure, here, John asked. No, there are too many eyes and ears. Let's take a walk, Maggie suggested, looking around the campus. They crossed the football field and sat on a bench. Maggie started talking. John, do you like me? Do you think I'm beautiful? Asked directly. We've already talked about this. Course I love you. All the guys love you, John replied. So what's the problem? Asked Maggie. At that moment, a Porsche sped by and a guy stuck his head out screaming. Maggie and honey, let's go for a walk. John smiled wryly while Maggie made a gesture of disdain for the boy. That's the problem, Maggie. All the guys want you. I need us to be exclusive. I'm not here to compete for your affection, John said seriously. John, I'm not interested in other people anymore, Maggie said softly. But when I saw you at Bogart last week, it didn't seem right. Were you holding hands with that guy? He's just a friend. It was a casual thing, Maggie said with a shrug of her shoulders. Why didn't you tell me? I need to know that we have an exclusive relationship. Can handle that. But what about when I go to work? Will you wait for me? Asked John. John, you are here and I really need. Maggie said, her voice full of emotion. I'm going to finish things off with the other guys. They're just friends. Maggie, I need your trust. Once it's lost, it's hard to get it back, said John conformiza. I promise I won't betray your trust. I'm sure, Maggie. So we're really in a relationship now? Asked John, blushing, a sight that Maggie found adorable. Yes, John replied Maggie with a smile. Thank you, John said, smiling. They walked around the campus for hours, and they had lunch at the student center. While crossing the street, Maggie sprained her ankle, and she would have fallen if John hadn't caught her. Oh, how it hurts, he exclaimed. John carefully took off her tennis shoe. It doesn't look swollen, reported. Can you step on it with your foot? Maggie made a show of pain. Let me take you to the emergency room, John said, picking her up in his arms and carrying her there. After being diagnosed with a mild sprain, they went out together. John took Maggie to his apartment and carefully placed her in bed, while John was maneuvering the boat through the Single. This week Maggie's thoughts haunted him, and the tears were clouding his vision. After refueling, I anchor for the night. He grabbed a folding chair and sat down on the deck, with a bottle of whiskey. The next day, John felt too hungover to sail, so he decided to stay at the Late. His phone buzzed continuously, almost falling off the table. He finally got it. Hello, he replied. John, Maggie's voice sounded on the other end of the line. Where are you? Why don't you come back and talk to me? This place doesn't feel like home anymore. I'm not coming back, John replied. John, please don't take this road. It was nothing. It was just a mistake, Maggie said. Just one question. Why? John asked, his trembling voice. Love you. We can get through this. John asked, his trembling voice. Love you. We can get through this. Maggie pleaded. Maggie, do you remember when we met? You said that you and Tim were done. But it was not like that at all. John said bitterly. This hurts even more. You broke my trust. Please answer me. Why? John made a mistake. Maggie admitted. That's the first honest thing you've said. John said coldly. You ruined our relationship, our marriage, and our happy home. My anger intensified, matching the restlessness in my stomach. Didn't I always provide you with everything? House, a car, clothes, jewelry. I thought we had a good life. You never complained. And now that's not enough. He demanded, almost screaming. John was able to go to Maggie, crying on the other end of the line. It's not about you, John. It's about me, she said. Why, Maggie? Just tell me why. John asked again, struggling to calm down. John, the first don't know. It just happened, Maggie replied, her voice breaking. If we don't understand why, how can we prevent it from happening again? I'm finished. Bye, Maggie. Please understand. This is the end. John said, his firm voice. No, John. Maggie said, I'm Ozando. He cut the call. The memories of the first days of their acquaintance. They overwhelmed her. John should have seen this coming. Maggie had promised to end her relationships with others. But how many of them had actually finished? The images repeated in his mind like scenes from a movie. Her laughing with Tim, their hands intertwined. John came out of the shadows. Hola, Maggie said. The look on her face told him everything he needed to know. They had agreed to be exclusive. But this situation was far from it. John, this is Tim, she said. Nice to meet you, Tim said, holding out his hand. John didn't take it. Exactly. Nice to see you, Maggie, he said. Nice to meet you, Tim, Tim said, holding out his hand. John didn't take it. Exactly. Nice to see you, Maggie, John said. With those words, John turned around and walked away, tempted to burst but holding back. John is waiting. Maggie called him. I'm sorry, but I don't have time. John replied. John was confused. Maggie had claimed that she planned to end things with Tim, but he hadn't done it yet. Tim was taken aback as John walked away. Who was that? Tim asked with a face full of confusion. It was John, Maggie replied. I needed to talk to you about him. What do you mean? Tim asked. He's my boyfriend, Maggie admitted. So why are you here with me? Tim asked, incredulous. I wanted to tell you in person. Perhaps during dinner, Maggie started excitedly. Tim frowned. I understand why he is upset. Goodbye, Maggie, he said, turning around. Tim's waiting. Maggie screamed, but he didn't stop. John went to the library but found it difficult to concentrate. Eventually he gave up and went home. Hey, you're back, said his roommate Ree. That girl you were talking to keeps calling every 20 minutes. The phone rang again, but John didn't answer. What should I tell him? Ree asked. Just tell her I'm not here and to stop bothering me, John replied. What did she do? Ree asked. Without waiting for an answer, he picked up the phone. Hello. No, he's not here. I have no idea where he is, Ree said before hanging up. Smiling at John, he said, let's have a drink. I pay for the first 3 rounds. Later that night, Ree convinced John to go to bed after listening to his story about Maggie. While John was drinking, he began to relate how he had met her, their walks together and the emotions she had felt. Ree was relieved when John finally calmed down. Although a night of drinking couldn't solve all his problems, it certainly brought something of relief. After the exam, John went home to spend a week with his parents. His father introduced him to crying in his late Nicholson. John was fascinated by the sea, the wildlife and the excitement of night cruises with dolphins swimming next to the boat. He watched the view of the night sky near the coast, where the stars were shining intensely. There was a feeling Maggie might have been there, but she wasn't. John was surprised to find her waiting for him when they landed. How did you find me? He asked. I didn't want to contact you, but I couldn't help myself. When we mentioned that it had been you, I found an envelope with your name and address. I visited your house and ended up spending the day with your mom. I told him everything. She said she would be back and warned me not to expect a warm welcome. She said that you don't open up easily, but she felt that something was wrong, so that you're leaving school. He was right, Maggie said. I honestly don't want you here, John replied. Why not, John? I told you I was done with everything, but it took time, Maggie said. Did you sleep with him? John asked. Why are you asking me this? No, I didn't, not this time, John. We agreed to be exclusive and I have fulfilled that. Tim didn't understand, he left me and I didn't see him again. You're all I need, John, Maggie pleads. When I saw you with him it hurt. I'm not trying to compete for your attention, Maggie, John said quietly. The choice is obvious. It's either right or it's wrong. If you love me, you shouldn't be with anyone else. If I find out otherwise, it's over for us. I came here to show you how seriously I take our relationship. What happened means nothing to me. I understand how it hurt you and I'm sorry. I promise it won't happen again. Please, let's go back to how we were before, Maggie begged. Maggie, if you're honest with me, I can get through this, John replied. But he still felt that she was keeping secrets from him and he couldn't accept it. He shook his head, wondering if his life would be better with or without her. There was a tension between them, but Maggie kept insisting. And eventually, John started to open up again. Their relationship began to blossom. Still, doubts remained in John's mind. As she sipped warm water, she wondered why she hadn't noticed the signs before. Was there really another person? Was their relationship a sham? When he got up, he prepared to return to the sea, collecting his ministers for the trip. That night he tossed and turned, his mind full of questions. The next morning he left for Georgia, then Florida and finally Nassau. Or is it not, Becky? What to do? I lost him. I lost everything. Euro Maggie to her friend. Maggie, what were you thinking about? Did you throw away a 30-year relationship because of this? How will you explain this to the guys? Did Becky ask indignantly. I don't know if I can, Maggie replied. Another wave of the Ugrimas covered Maggie, while Soy Ozaba and covered her face with her hands. Have you talked to them? Did Becky ask? Since I told him he's gone, I've been trying to see if he's been in touch. He only called Jimmy once, and yes, he didn't say anything, Maggie replied. So, for them, it seems that John simply left without any explanation. Did Becky ask? Do you really think they won't wonder if John was wrong? Are you willing to let them think that and keep quiet? You don't deserve it. And deep down you know that, Becky said. I made a mistake, but it was just an oversight. Maggie was justified. An oversight makes it sound like it's something small, like slipping on a banana peel. But you were with Brad in John's bed. What were you thinking? Becky asked harshly. Do you think John will ever get over this? He continued. Maggie looked at Becky, realizing the gravity of her actions. If only you had had fun with him in the car. And if you had come home alone, things could have been different. But you took him to John's bed, and he found you there. How can you justify that? Did you break the heart of the kindest man I've ever met? He was a man who dedicated everything to you. Do you have any idea how many women were chasing him? He was always respectful, and when he said no, he meant it. And you threw it all away, Becky said, her voice tinged with disgust. I have to do something, Becky. I have to prove my love for him, Maggie said desperately. You can try, but I don't think you can. If you can get her to open up, if you can beg and humiliate, if she can be the perfect wife, you could break down her walls. But you'll also have to deal with the boys. If they take his side, everything will be over. Do you understand? Becky said. I ruined everything, he should talk to me. He simply must, Maggie said between the Ugrimas. John was sitting on the floor of the cabin, holding a bomb. He was wearing uniform shorts and an old worn t-shirt. Her tan was deepening under the Caribbean sun. Hi, I'm Sarah. A girl greeted him. Hi, Sarah, John said without looking away. He noticed a locking ring on the pump. If he turned it, it might loosen and allow him to open the case. What are you doing now? Sarah asked. Fixing the pump, John replied. Why? Sarah asked. 'Cause it doesn't work. John replied impatiently. Where are you going? What is he doing? Sarah asked again. Pump water into the well, explained John. It's clear now. I know even less than I thought, said Sarah. His sarcasm got John's attention. He looked up. She had long blonde hair and a slender sunlit figure. I couldn't see her eyes clearly. But her smile caught his attention and he smiled back. Is there an aquarium here for bait fish? She asked. This pump takes water from the ocean and puts it in a reservoir. Then the water is released back into the ocean, keeping the fresh and oxygenated to help keep the baits alive, John said. This is the longest conversation I've had in weeks. And I find her pleasant, John admitted. Well, I hope I'm not bothering, Sarah said. You're pretty quiet, aren't you? It's not exactly my style. Do you mind if I jump in and have taken a look at it? I asked Sarah. Sarah, is there anything I can help you with? I'm working on this pump to get ready for fishing, John replied. I hope I'm not a bother. My parents thought swimming here would be good for me. But it only brings back painful memories, Sarah said. John noticed the pain in her eyes. If you are looking for someone to keep you company, maybe it's not the best option. I try not to think about negative things, John said. Are you alone? Where's your family? Sarah asked. John felt a chill run through his body. My ex stayed at home. The kids are all grown up now, he replied. Did you come here alone? In this boat, Sarah asked, surprised. Yes, I need to buy a new pump. If you want, you can come back later, John said. Can I come with you? Sarah asked. To where? Asked John, surprised. To buy the bomb, Sarah replied. Okay, but I need to stop by the grocery store first. Will you wait for me? Asked John. I need to let my mom know, Sarah replied. John watched as he ran towards his sailboat. He looked to be about 20 years old. A man peeked out from the booth and John greeted him shyly. The man did not return the greeting. When Sarah returned, John realized that she was about 30 years old. The wrinkles on his face tied his age. Your parents are upset that you are accompanying me, John asked. They're just overprotective. I didn't have a very good time before we came here, Sarah replied. I'm sorry, John said as they walked on in silence. The day of the evening, people were told that he was not in life. The sound of the metal drums was getting louder as who were approaching the marina office. And a bar tiki with a sandy floor appeared. Would you like a drink? John asked. Sounds good, Sarah replied. You really don't care, Sarah clarified. Not at all, I haven't talked to anyone in weeks. Would you like a drink? John asked. Just a glass of white wine, Sarah replied. John smiled. They sat down at a table next to the bar. While a light breeze once pertina blew, bringing in the heat of the summer. John, how long have you been here? What's your story? Did Sarah ask? John hesitated, but Sarah spoke first. I went through a difficult divorce and my parents brought me here to help me escape. They rented a flat to clear their heads, Sarah said, laughing. The sound of his laughter was musical, though tinged with sadness. His teeth shone white and his green eyes softened. I hope there is nothing wrong with that, he said. They take care of you, John replied with a shrug. But after a bad divorce, it's hard to be stuck on a boat with parents who loved each other forever. I hope there is nothing wrong with that, he said. They take care of you, John replied with a shrug. But after a bad divorce, it's hard to be stuck on a boat with parents who loved each other forever. It reminds me of something I will never experience. I love them, but it's hard, Sarah said, a tear rolling down her cheek. I'm sorry for dumping all this on you, she added, wiping away tears. I need to go. Sarah, please stay. Okay, I understand, John said. I couldn't believe I was old enough to handle all this. John, I'm almost 30 years old, she said, noticing his look. In just 15 minutes, everything collapsed. I left and never came back. I'm so sorry, John said. Are you divorced now? Sarah asked. I never followed him through, John replied. You've talked to her. What happened? Sarah asked. I contacted her several times on the way here, mainly to ask you questions, but I had no answers. John replied without emotion. Sarah leaned back, looking at him with deep concern on her face. It was the most compassionate look I had received in months. John, do you want to talk about this? He asked gently. Maybe someday, but not now, he replied. When are you coming home? John asked. We have 2 weeks left, but maybe it will happen sooner, Sarah said. Your father must be very depressed, John said, taking a look at his phone. The screen showed 23 unread messages. John reviewed the application of marine weather. There will be strong winds tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow it seems to be fine, he said. Maybe we can go sailing then. Do you think your father will let me help govern? John asked. I don't want to hurt her feelings. So maybe we should shut up about the fact that you can surf. Sarah said hesitantly. When I was younger, my dad had a sailboat. And we spent a lot of time in the water. It's not much different, John said. Can you have lunch with us tomorrow? Sarah asked. Then you can help my father. It will be very important for him, she added, both excited and worried. I think we can come to an agreement. How about we meet here at noon? Or is John sorry? I understand what you're facing, but I'm still asking for help. It's not right. Sarah started making excuses. It's okay, Sarah. I don't mind at all, John said with a smile. The next day at noon, John arrived at the dock. And he noticed Sarah beckoning to him. He greeted the older man with a handshake. John Baker, nice to meet you, John introduced himself. Ben Livingston, the older man said. Ben's smile didn't reach his eyes. And he looked at John suspiciously. Nabegas? Ben asked. Yes, I do. My father had his own late, the Nicholson. And we spent the summer sailing instead of doing other things. John replied. John knows my mom. Beth Livingston, Sarah said. The woman who looked like an older version of Sarah. He smiled warmly. Hi, John. We appreciate meeting you. Sarah mentioned your experience in sailing. And Ben is looking forward to the boat trip tomorrow. We don't want to be a burden, but it would mean a lot to us, Beth said. Ben and Beth asked John about his sailing experience. And it turned out that they knew more about him than I thought. They knew about his recent divorce. And the problems he was facing. They also realized that he was an engineer. And that he had been out of his office for nearly 3 weeks. And he was about to communicate with the world again. Having made his plans, John lay down on the bow of the boat, enjoying the gentle breeze and looking at the serene sea. Sarah sat next to him, looking up at the sky. A penny for your thoughts, John, he asked. Doesn't cost a dime. Maybe I even owe you for listening to me, John said, laughing. You brought a lot of happiness to my father, more than I expected. Sarah said gratefully. He's better now than he thinks. Just help him gain self-confidence, John said. What are you going to do next? Sarah asked. I think my break is almost over. I need to contact the office, improve relations with children, and start working things out with my wife. John replied. Wait, Ben shouted from the helm. He really is in his element. Sarah commented as John got up, a rare smile lighting up his face. It's good to see him, he added, noticing him nearby that his mother was watching him. A shadow passed over John's face. I thought I had it all figured out. I'm sorry about that, John said. He adjusted the sails, making sure they caught the wind, and that the mainsail is not on Era. Looking around, John realized that he was heading towards the port, which signaled the end of his easy day on the water. He sat on the canvas sacks to collect his thoughts. I hope to see you again. I don't expect that, John said, his voice heavy with sadness. Understand. I went through something similar a year ago, John. Past whatever happened. I hope we can keep in touch, Sarah said. Sarah's heart started beating faster and John felt them. I know it's not the right time, but you've reminded me that there are still good people in the world, John said. Sarah blushed and took one look at him before quickly turning around. I wish our paths had crossed under different circumstances, John said quietly. After lowering the sails, John anchored the late and to all ropes safely. He turned off the DSL engine. It was great, come on. Really appreciated this wonderful day. Brought back great memories, John said. Thank you, son. Would you mind doing it again this week? Ven asked, smiling hopefully. Her silver hair was dancing in the wind and she looked really happy. I'd love to, but I'll have to rearrange my schedule. Can I call you later? John asked. Sure, just let us know. I'm sure Sarah will like it. And me too, said Ven. Is everything ready or do you need help to wash the boat? John asked. I think the women have already taken care of that, Ven said. He smiled and motioned for Sarah and Beth to clear the deck. Then he'll leave. Have a nice evening, John said. John stepped off the boat to the docks, smiling. He felt like a British captain. He laughed to himself as he came down. As he got on the boat, he remembered his loneliness and felt even more isolated than before. Maybe I was starting to feel something again. Anger boiled inside him, and he took the phone, turning it on after a long silence. After seeing the missed calls and messages, she called Bob. Wow, you're still alive. Where are you? Bob exclaimed. I'm at NASA, John replied. How do you do? Bob exclaimed. I am fine, although still very angry. But I understand that I should work while I am here and solve my problems, John replied. Yes, we have a situation with Alexander's account. The valvula and the elbow keep failing. Can you suggest a solution? Bas. We may consider moving the valvula or perhaps removing the knee. John asked. Do you have a minute to work on this? Bob was happy. Please send me the plans and I will review them. I will contact you tomorrow afternoon, John said. If you could do that, I would really appreciate it and feel better about your direct deposit for tomorrow. Bob said. Could you please hold my direct deposit for a day or two? I need some time to organize my finances and manage my investments, John asked. Maggie calls me every day to see if I've heard from you. It's okay if I tell him we're still in touch. Bas. You can mention our conversation but don't rebel my location, John said. Tell her I won't talk to her until she tells me why I said it, but it won't hurt her to hear it again. How can I contact you? I've tried to call you on the cell phone several times, but it always goes to the voice buzzer. Bas. I don't understand it. John replied. I'll try to call you every day at 3 in the afternoon, unless I'm fishing. If I'm not around, I'll call you as soon as I get back. John and Bob talked for over an hour discussing various projects, equipment, startup maintenance and staffing issues. After hanging up, the routine conversation continued in John's head for a long time. Dad, where are you? This is not a joke. Mom is very upset and calls me every day. Jim asks what happened, Sid said when John called him back. Sid, I don't want to go into details. It was a difficult situation and I don't think we can recover from it, John said. Mom mentioned that the police are looking for you. What happened? Sid asked. He hit someone hard several times, but apparently it wasn't enough. John replied. Sounds serious. Dad, when is that house coming? Sid asked. I don't know for sure yet. I'll be over for a while, but I need to take care of some things first. John replied. Where are you exactly, Dad? Sid asked. I'll tell you as soon as everything is settled with your mom. And then you can come and visit me. John replied. Jim is very upset. He said your last conversation didn't go well, Sid said. You want to know what happened to Mom, but she doesn't say anything. Just cry. He will survive this. And so does she, John said. Come on, Dad. Just tell me what's going on. Sid continued. I promise I'm fine and I'll be back soon. I'll keep you posted when I got there. Maybe we can have dinner together, John said. Kristen will be glad to see you too, Dad. Sid said with a sigh. Tell her I'm sending my regards and I'll get back to her in a week or two, John said. After finishing the conversation, John pulled out a chair. And he opened a new bottle of whiskey. Sarah woke him up by pulling on his arm. Come on, John. You have to go to bed. You shouldn't be here, she said. I'm not a very good person, John mutters. Peacock. Fuck him, go to bed. And we'll talk in the morning, Sarah said. You know you're beautiful, right? John said. Everyone in this state is beautiful. Well, almost everyone. Sarah replied. Sarah spun Rio as she watched John walk down the steps to the cabin. She laid him gently on the bed. He kissed her forehead as she started to snore. We'll talk in the morning, John, he whispered. Sarah paused for a moment before silently stepping out of the boat. John woke up with a hangover. For some reason it seemed important. John, get up. I made you bacon and eggs, I'll scream. He stumbled towards the stairs and Sarah couldn't help but laugh. You were great at night, Sarah said, laughing. So, about this. Did you see me ask for? So, I apologize. John said, embarrassed. You said I was beautiful and that you loved me. If you meant it, then that's great. But if it was just a silly thing, then yes. That makes you a fool. Sarah said with a pout. Or no, I didn't mean to offend. I really think you're beautiful. John apologized. Or come on, I'm just kidding. Be quiet. Anyway, I'll make sure he talks to me this morning, Sarah said. Could you dim the light? It's too bright, John requested. John buried his face in his hands. It's good for you, you know? Vitamin D and all that. So, John, what's bothering you? Sarah asked. Do you really want to hear my whole complicated story? John asked. Yes, I want to know what bothers you. Keeping everything in a bottle is not doing you any good, Sarah said. I caught her cheating on me with her boss, John replied. You say you found her. But what exactly happened? You heard or saw something? Sarah asked. Yes, I went into his bedroom, John said. That image is etched in my memory. He added. And what did you do? Sarah asked. Then the pee 3 times as hard as I could. Then I looked at her and left. John replied. Have you talked to her since then? Sarah asked. I told him several times on the way here that I would not contact her again until she explained herself. She never answered. And I haven't said anything to him since, John said. Sounds like it really hurts you. Can't you just let it go? You drink your sorrows in alcohol every night, Sarah said. Sarah adored her. My love for her was deep, and treasured every moment we shared. John said bitterly. Your choice of past tense seems so definitive. There really is no hope for us, Sarah asked. Not at all. The spark has gone out. At the beginning of our relationship we faced difficulties. And I thought I knew she was over it. But this, I will never forget that look in her eyes. Makes me doubt myself. It's really me. I'm not enough. I'm worse in bed. Is he the superior to me? John's voice faltered. Sarah laughed softly. Men often focus on being bigger than women. For most of us, it's about the emotional connection, he said. The mind is the most intimate area. If that's the case, then I must have no talent. He was just an annoying bald guy. He may not be the most attractive, but neither was he, murmured John. Don't kid yourself, John, Sarah said. A woman I knew once told me this, but it didn't change anything. I should have seen that coming. See what? How could you possibly know that? Sarah asked. In college I had a personal recommendation. Never date someone who is more than 2 levels above you. The one who is below always ends up getting hurt. In this situation I was at the bottom, John said. John, if she's so out of your league, she must be awesome. But don't lose sight of the fact that she was unfaithful to you. Are you sure it's really over? Sarah asked. Without a doubt. I couldn't be more sure. I just don't know how to react, John said. I have no words to help you, John. I know you don't want to hear the usual phrases like time madness everything. Or there are a lot of fish in the sea. It hurt and only time can really fix it. I'm so sorry, Sarah said. She saw a tear roll down his cheek and felt the need to get closer to him. John, when you are ready to move on with your life, would you please contact me? I will be happy to be your friend. I know now is not the right time. But maybe one day, Sarah said. John replied. Sarah, I need to get on my way. You're out of my league. Besides, I'm coming home next week and you're going too. It's okay, John. We'll meet again. I'm just looking for friendship, Sarah said. I hope we can meet again, Sarah. It would mean a lot to me, John said. As John flew in from Miami, his head was full of thoughts. When the plane took off, she saw Sarah's boat and felt a wave of sadness wash over it. The memories of walks with his beloved family came back to him, but they were quickly overshadowed by his frustration with Maggie. When he got off the plane, Maggie was there to greet him. She looked more fragile, with dark circles under her eyes, but still radiated beauty. What are you doing here? He asked John. Bob mentioned you were coming. Please don't be offended by him, Maggie said. John the First, I'm so sorry. Let me explain everything. I'm not interested until I hear your reasons, John said with a firm tone. You give me at least one chance to try. Sublime, Maggie. Yes or no, John asked. I don't know, John. I wonder why and how I could do this. But I don't know the answer. Please, John, I love only you. Just give me a chance. Sublime Maggie with the tears running down her face. Vast Maggie. I've been on the road all day. I am tired. I just want to get to the hotel. I'll call you before I leave, but you have to understand, John said. Please John, forgive me. Can't we just forget about it and go home? Ask Maggie. Maggie, you knew the rules. It reminded him of John. We were supposed to be a team. No rivalry. I believed in the promise to be faithful to the end, but you decided to finish it. Now it's over. I need to go, John said. Maggie watched him leave, get in a taxi and drive away. John, exclaimed Bob when John walked into the office the next morning. Hi Bob. It's good to see you. John replied. Customers have been asking about you. They need your help to get started. Can you go to St. Louis for a week or two? Ask Bob. I need to consult with a lawyer first. I need to get my finances in order. And see what else needs to be done. John replied. You are good. Bob asks, putting his arm around John's shoulders. Bob, my mind is clear, but I feel emotionally drained. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forget this, John said. He took the branded photo of Maggie, looked at it for a moment and then threw it in the trash. Every little detail reminds me of her. Maybe we should think about going our separate ways, John concluded. John, you are the soul of this place. I have an idea for you. Once you get settled in, let's just sit down and talk, Bob suggested. I don't want to hear this, Bob. Don't try to convince me to get back with this cheating woman, John said menacingly. There's no way. I'm not going to argue about her. I'm focused on work, Bob said. When my divorce is finalized, I need to make sure she doesn't claim any part of the business. I have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow, John said. Can you take care of everything? Bass. Yeah, I think I'll handle the situation myself. You can terminate my employment for misconduct, and after the divorce, I will become a consultant. That way you will only be able to claim my consulting income. I need to consult with a lawyer first, John said. Do you think you'll face charges? Bass. I hope we can come to some kind of agreement, John replied. I will file a lawsuit for emotional distress, moral conflict, and other related issues to help convince him to drop the charges. We can discuss the details later, John said. This situation is very difficult for me, John. We built this place together, Bob said. Everything will be okay. Everything will be back to normal, John replied. I need to go now, Bob said. Everything will be okay. Everything will be back to normal, John replied. I need to go now, John said. The next morning, John walked into the office feeling the weight of the previous days. Hi, John. How do you do? Tim asked with a smile, extending his hand. I've seen better days, Tim. I need help with personal, family, criminal and business law, John said. What happened? Tim asked sympathetically. A month ago I discovered unpleasant things. I walked in and found Maggie with her boss. John replied sadly. Or not, sighed Tim. Where did it happen? In my bed, John said. Or no, what did you do? Tim asked. I left, went to Nassau for a month and came back yesterday, John said. Does she know you're back? Tim asked. Yes, he met me at the airport. I want to get a divorce. Can you help me with the paperwork or point me to someone who can? Besides, I need to clear up some problems with the police. I think I'm being sought for assault, John said. Let me make some calls. Can you wait outside? I think we can use this situation to negotiate some terms, Tim said. A month later the trial took place. John was charged with assaulting Brett Pumper. You were fired for misconduct, sir. We can't apply this to your case, the judge told John's lawyer. It's my word against yours, you're Suro John. They weren't sure about the infidelity allegations. The judge said, prompting John's lawyer to bring Maggie and Brett into the argument. They were in my bed in my own house, John said. Let's not delve into this now, the judge said. The judge smiled briefly, reflecting his uncertainty about the case. Charges were filed, but to be accused is humiliating. The text says that you hit Mr. Pumper. Do you admit your guilt? The judge asked. Yes, I plead guilty, but I didn't hit him on the head, John replied. Brett Pumper is running for state's attorney and he's very upset about the costs of the idental emergency room, Because of the damage you caused, the judge said. If he's upset, then so is the prosecutor. Get ready. Announce the verdict, the judge said. If he's upset, then so is the prosecutor. Get ready. I announce the verdict, the judge said, smiling at John. Thank you. His Honor, replied John's lawyer on his behalf. And Mr. Baker, please refrain from hitting anyone else. The judge added. Of course, Your Honor, John nodded. He is free on his own responsibility. I just didn't leave the state, sir, he nodded. It is your responsibility as a lawyer to make sure that your client shows up in court. When required, the judge said. Understood, Your Honor, we will be there, John George's lawyer said. As Johnny George was leaving, George muttered. Oh. He smiled. I've never seen anything like this before. I thought she was attractive. Darling, they never called her that. They rather orsured her, Harriet said. The next day, an unexpected turn of events occurred. John was given a letter to dissolve his partnership on moral grounds. Due to his recent arrest and pending sentence. John took the letter to Tim's office and dropped it nonchalantly on the side. After that, he had no choice but to wait. He already stayed in Nassau and John couldn't leave the state. He found himself unemployed and drove a rented car to the bay. Sitting on the shore, staring at the water until darkness fell. The next day, at 11 a.m., while sitting in his hotel room, John's phone rang. Hi, it's John. A voice asked on the other side. Please change your mind, I beg, Maggie. Maggie, I've made it clear that I won't talk to you again until you give me an explanation. John said, I never wanted it to end like this. Just happened. We were working, drinking and going dancing. And then everything changed, Maggie said. Does Maggie even understand how much it hurts me? Yes, John. You broke my heart. I imagined that we would grow old together playing with our grandchildren. And now I feel like everyone is falling apart. John hit the table with his hand. Please let me explain. I want to show you how much I love you. Just find a moment to see me. Give me a chance to talk. Then you sign the papers and we can both get on with our lives. Maggie said. Soon I will have a lot of free time. Probably in prison. John said sarcastically. Oh my God, John, how did you get fired? They were partners, Maggie shouted. Moral disclaimer. If one of us is accused of a crime, the company goes to someone else. John replied. I have a court date next week. I won't let him control me, John. I won't, Maggie said. You have no choice in this matter. John replied. Are you still in contact with him? Please come and see me. I want to show you how much I care, Maggie requested. It's too late for that now. I just want it to end and move on. John said. We can at least Mortis. We can talk somewhere public, Maggie suggested. That's fine. See you tomorrow at Luigi's in Little, Italy at noon. John said wearily. Sounds good, John. Thank you. Care, honey. Maggie said. Don't say that. And please don't call me that again. You have lost that privilege. John said coldly. It's okay, John. Sorry. Maggie replied. John was leaning against the wall when Maggie came in. She looked stunning like in college. Although he had lost some weight and his eyes were red. He didn't get up to greet her. When she approached, he asked her, You're not going to hug me? Well, he responded in a flat manner. John is so distant. We lived together for 30 years, Maggie said bitterly. You had fun with another man in my bed. How many times has this happened? How long did it last? Asked John. It was only once, Maggie said. Maybe I'll give you another chance. But let's see if you can give me 10 reasons why you lied. John replied. Honestly, I can't wait to hear your excuses. I was just looking for something negative in our marriage. Maggie started. I'm not interested in your excuses. John interrupted coldly. Maggie looked away with tears in her eyes. Gathering all his courage, he spoke again. John, I am sincerely sorry about what happened to your company. Are you going to dispute the payments? Did he ask? Bob didn't accuse me of anything. It's just a difficult situation at work. John replied. Why did you decide he had a girlfriend? John asked. Your feelings seemed hard and cold to me. I didn't feel respected by you. Maggie said, confused, not knowing what excuse to give. You have to take responsibility, John said. I deserve it. I'm very sorry. Susurró Maggie. John didn't let up. Say whatever you need to say. But until you take responsibility, nothing will change. I'm not sure I can live in peace anymore. Or let you hurt me with what happened. I already said that. Your actions are only your fault. Everything happened naturally. Maggie replied simply. John's anger flared up again. You slept with him in my bed. That was one of the most intimate betrayals you could commit. Yes, John. I'm very sorry. Maggie repeated. I can't handle this right now. I need to go, John said. Please don't contact me. Just take care of things with the boys. If they contact me, I'll know you're taking responsibility. I'll let you know what happens if I don't end up in jail. And if I end up in jail, you won't be the only one I'll call, added John, standing up, leaving some money on the table and leaving. Maggie came up to him, but he rejected her with a gesture. Mr. Baker, began the judge. I acknowledge that he has accepted responsibility for his actions. I have taken a look at the documents on his desk. Before looking at John again, do you have any statement? Is there anything you want to say about his punishment? His lordship, replied John. I am very sorry that my actions have led to this. I'm sorry for wasting your time. I wish I could promise not to repeat my actions. But if I hadn't caught my wife in the act. John looked at George. At the scene of the crime, he added. The judge let out a laugh as George mumbled. Yes, but I didn't like it. George was muttering. Yes, that's right. I might be tempted to hit him again. But I will try to restrain myself. The judge smiled slightly. Mr. Baker, are you working now? Ask her. I was released by a moral clause. But I would like a second chance. Depending on how it goes today. John replied. The court sees his decision as a mistake made under extreme stress. Do you understand what I mean? Asked the judge. No, Your Honor. John replied sincerely. This means that I do not consider you culpable or innocent. I will place you on probation pending sentencing. This will stay in your story for 5 years. If you commit another crime during this period, you will be punished for both crimes, which will effectively double your sentence. Do you think you can get away with this? Asked the judge. Yes, Your Honor. This will help me to control my behavior. John replied. Your lawyer will have documents for you to sign now. He can tell you, the judge said, banging the table with his hammer. Thank you, Your Honor, John said sincerely. John turned around to get out, taking a look at the judge, who honored them before he left the room. John, his lawyer, and Bob sat down together at the table. I can't believe it, John. I've never seen her treat someone so easily, George said. Corrections for aggression are rare. How will this affect our strategy? How can we protect Maggie's business? Asked John. John, pay attention to your work. If you don't, we may not have a business to protect. Bob said. I will work for the good of the business. What do you think if Tim comes back as an employee instead of a partner? John. Once the situation is resolved, I can promote Tim Associo. Let me see the partnership agreements, to see what provisions apply to forced labor. Bob said. You were not convicted. But we still have to follow the rules. Did Maggie sign the papers? Asked Bob. Not yet, Bob. I'm going back to NASA. I will work remotely. And I'll find a way to get him to sign the papers. I'm probably going to St. Louis next week too, John said. Are you sure, John, that you have no way back? Asked Bob. No, I'm done. I just want to get on with my life, John said. John was walking down the dock towards the deep water, and he noticed the empty space where Sarah's boat used to be. A wave of sadness washed over him as he realized that it was no longer a part of his life. Treasured the memories of their time together, especially the boat ride with his parents. Sarah had shown him that good and loving women, they really exist. Maggie was watching John leave the restaurant, his pain weighing on him like a heavy burden. She could barely breathe, her hands were shaking. I desperately wanted to hug him, and do everything as before. But deep down I knew it was really over. In her mind, she kissed John for the last time, feeling her quality while the tears were shining under his sunglasses. Mom, really? Do you even know where he is? Jimmy shouted at his mother. No, Maggie replied. I tried to contact him, but he's not answering the phone. I have a feeling that Sid knows something, but he's not sharing it. Mom, I'm really upset with you. I can't believe you're doing this. I still love you, but I don't understand how you could do this to Dad. I have to call him and hope he won't refuse to talk to me, Jimmy said. He's abroad and he doesn't want to talk to you or Sid, Maggie said. That night Maggie called Sid. Sid, please help me get my dad to talk to me. I need another chance. I went up with Maggie. Are you still working with this guy? Sid asked. Yes, but I have bills to pay. And a mortgage to cover, answered Maggie. You have to find another job, Sid replied. Mom, if this guy is that important to you, it sounds like you're ready to leave the family. If so, the family will have to leave you, his son said. Sid, why are you so hard? Maggie asked indignantly. It wasn't me who ruined everything, Mom. It was you, Sid said. Oh God, I really ruined everything. What should I do now? But at least Maggie ending the call and sinking his head into his hands at the kitchen table. When night fell, he moved to the bedroom, lying in bed trying to understand. Why was everyone so upset? It was just a mistake, he thought. Meanwhile, the storm, which originated in the Atlantic, she was named the fifth of the season, and it was forecast that it would strengthen into a hurricane by the time I got to the Virgin Islands, and it will impact Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and possibly the Carolinas by the end of the week. Residents on their way, they were warned to be prepared for stormy winds and tides. John only had 2 days to prepare for the storm that was coming. He was securing the boats in the Navy when he noticed that many of them had already been transported to the United States for storage. He began to tie up the remaining boats, making sure the ropes were tight, but loose enough to weather the storm. The dock workers came to his aid. What's happening? The young man asked. I'm trying to secure the boats before the storm hits. I need more and longer strings and the Assur to well, John replied. Why a lifeboat? The boy asked. I want to pass a line to keep the boats away from the dock. And put a line to stabilize them, John replied. I'm going to get some more ropes, the boy said. What's your name? John asked. Joseph, answered the boy. I guess that's the Spanish equivalent of John, right? John said. Jose smiled and returned the gesture. Yes, I think you are right, he replied. They shook hands and Joseph returned with 5 more men and a wheelbarrow loaded with ropes. They spent the next day and a half securing the ships. The sky was clear and the Salas were crashing against the shore. John, where are you going to stay during the storm? Joseph asked. I'm hoping to get a room at a nearby resort, John replied. Then you will live with my family and me. Safe here. We have survived many hurricanes without a scratch. The house may not be very big or luxurious, but it is comfortable enough, Jose said. Thanks, Jose, but I don't want to deprive your family of shelter, John replied. Jose showed his characteristic crooked smile. You won't be a bother, he said, nodding. Everything is decided. Let's get the house ready. Joseph's house was a modest cinder block building with a foil roof. The walk up the hill calmed John down. The interior was dim but tidy. A beaded curtain divided the main room, and John could hear a woman's indignant voice from behind. Joseph rolled his eyes and walked away, leaving John alone. After a noisy argument that finally calmed down, Jose returned with a stunning Latina woman in her 30s. She had long dark hair and an attractive figure. She held out her hand to him and John shook it, feeling their soft but cakey fingers. So, are you Jose's new friend? Yes. Her name was beautiful and she spoke English between cortado with a strong Spanish accent. Yes, beautiful. I'm here to help, John said. Will you be staying during the storm? Yes. Yes, if you don't mind, John replied. All right, she nodded. "Thank you, I'm cooking," he said simply and left. John followed Joseph outside, where they began to secure the windows with pieces of corrected foil. The neighbors came to help, and together they walked from house to house. As the sky darkened and the storm clouds gathered, John was too busy to call his kids or worry about what was coming. He concentrated on giving the ships the best possible chance of surviving the storm. Back at Jose's house, they settled into canvas chairs on the porch. Hermosa brought 2 cold beers, gave one to Jose and the other to John. And then I quietly returned to the house. "Is this wife?" John asked Joseph. Joseph burst into a loud laugh. "Who is beautiful?" "No, John. My wife has passed away. She is Minura." "Isn't she beautiful?" "Yes, beautiful," John replied. The other men joined them on the porch, accepting the beer from Beautiful, who introduced them to John for the first time. It was a radiant smile. John was listening to her talk, understanding only a few words. As I watched the sky darken and felt the wind increase, realized that a storm was forming, he reflected on his efforts to protect the community and felt determined as the rain began to subside. The men expressed their thanks to John and then left. A man stopped for a moment, shook John's hand and said, "Thank you, John, for your help today. We're friends, right?" John smiled and replied, "Yeah, we're friends." "You're welcome, sir." The storm was not as strong as expected, but he had not yet agreed. While John was dozing on the couch, the power went out. Hermosa came out from behind the curtain, pointed to the sofa, and John got up to join her. I hugged her and she pressed herself against him. They stayed like that for several hours. Her breathing became regular and she fell asleep. Finally, John fell asleep too. When he woke up, he found her looking at him with a mixture of emotions. She was incredibly beautiful. Jose walked in, noticed them, shrugged his shoulders and asked what was wrong. Hermosa quickly began to explain that John had helped her during the storm. I was scared and on the console. He also mentioned that John was a perfect gentleman. But it was not clear whether he was happy or sad about this. Women are hard to understand, aren't they? Jose commented. "Jose, are you ready to go to the dock? I need to see how things are going over there." John asked when Hermosa came out to make breakfast. Joseph asked, "Are you hungry? Are we going to eat on the porch?" "Do you think so?" John replied. John and Jose settled into the porch chairs and watched as the neighborhood woke up around them. They collected the fallen branches and placed them on the side of the road. And the yards were getting tidier. Hermosa soon arrived with dishes of scrambled eggs with spicy sauce and seasoned beef, a dish that John found simply delicious. Then, John and Jose unloaded the fallen palm leaves from Jose's old Toyota pickup truck and got ready to leave. John reached out his hand to Jose, but she hugged him warmly, expressing her gratitude with a strong Spanish nod. He lowered his head, got into the truck and leaned against the window. The trip to the pier was quick. Jose skillfully maneuvered to avoid the debris. When they arrived, they found one boat sunk and the other damaged. But the deep boat was in good condition. Jose's team arrived soon and started working immediately. Joseph thanked John for his help and was relieved that the storm was less severe than expected. "And the sunken boat you're working on?" John asked. "Sure, let's see what we can do," Joseph replied. They found the necessary equipment in the barn, and John helped to secure them to urbacks and place the straps under the wreck. The old compressor started working and the boat started to rise slowly. The water was taken out, and by the afternoon the pier looked much better. "Thank you, John," said Joseph, embracing him warmly. "Are you coming with me?" "Thank you, Jose. But I think I'll stay here. Please pass on my gratitude to Hermosa for everything," John said. John turned on the latest generator and plugged in his phone to charge it. He noticed several messages from Sid, 2 from Jimmy, 1 from Maggie, as well as a message from an unknown number. "I was saying, John, I heard about the storm and I wanted to know how you and Elle are doing. I will be glad to hear from you." Sarah, after assuring Sid that she was fine, John decided to call Jimmy. "Hi, I noticed you called," John said. "How are you, Dad? He was really worried about you." "Sorry, Dad. Mom told me everything that happened. I'm sorry for blaming you, Jimmy said quickly. It's okay, Jim. I asked you not to take this party until you had all the information, John replied. Get it, Dad. Can you try to forgive her for the sake of the family? Jimmy asked. Get it, Dad. Can you try to forgive her for the sake of the family? Jimmy asked. I just can't. She broke my trust. I can't go through that again, John replied. Meanwhile, Maggie was sitting with Becky feeling anxious. Oh my God, Becky. He's out there on the boat. I really hope he's okay, Maggie said. Maggie, he knows what he's doing. If anyone can handle this, it's John. What's your plan? Becky asked. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. Maggie went to open it. Are you Margaret Baker? The man asked. Yes, I am. Maggie replied. I can see the documents. The man asked. Oh my God. Are they really notifying me? Becky, John is really going to file for divorce. Maggie said, horrified. The notification has already been delivered to you. Becky commented. Maggie took the envelope, collapsed on the sofa and whispered. Well. I'm really sorry, but it was only once. It didn't mean anything, Maggie said. But Maggie meant something to John, Becky said. 2 days after the storm, John was on deck repairing the pump. What are you doing now? Sarah asked, standing up dressed in a pink and white striped shirt. Sarah, what are you doing here? John asked, approaching the side of the boat. I heard about the storm. I wrote to you but did not receive a reply. Sarah said. Let me get a chair. Sarah said, sitting down. Where are you staying? John asked. I haven't decided where to stay yet. Not all hotels are open. I came directly from the airport here. Sorry, John. It was a stupid mistake, Sarah said. What do you mean stupid? John asked. Honestly, I thought I'd never see you again. I couldn't stand the idea that you needed someone. Forgive me, John. He shouldn't have shown up, Sarah said. Sarah, those moments we shared were very meaningful. You really are an amazing woman, John said warmly. I don't know where to stay or what to do now, Sarah said sadly. Let's find a solution. Joseph can help us, John replied. It's okay, John, Sarah said, a tear running down her cheek. I'm going to the airport, he said, getting up. But let me talk to Jose first. Just a moment, John said. He bent down, gave her a kiss on the top of the head and went out in search of Jose. Over the next week, John and Sarah fished, sailed, enjoyed the beach and spent time getting to know each other better. When the time came for John to leave for St. Louis, they flew to the mainland together. In the months that followed, John and Bob spoke frequently on the phone. John rented a house on the island and opened an office there. They agreed that John would return to the office a few days a month. I would travel to Nassau to see clients and do design work over the internet. Bob promoted John to the acting category, and together they opened an office with 5 engineers and support staff dedicated to projects on the island. Maggie agreed to the terms of the divorce, keeping the house and dividing the liquid assets equally. Maggie sued the law firm for mistreatment, which led to her dismissal. Having difficulty finding a new job, he finally decided to leave the area. Meanwhile, John's lawsuit was rejected, but he received compensation from the firm that he decided to save for his future grandchildren. One sunny day, Sarah and Maggie crossed paths while visiting Sid and Kristen, as well as Jim and Courtney. John was on the porch of his rented or bungalow, gently rocking his first grandchild in a sturdy chair. Maggie was at the foot of the porch steps and watching the scene. John, the first thought we were on the same page. Why did you file for divorce? Asked Maggie quietly. I'm very sorry. It meant nothing to me. Maggie meant a lot to me, John replied, his voice heavy with emotion. It made me feel like what we had didn't matter to you. You broke my trust and my heart. I had to move on or be consumed by it, he added. At that moment, Sarah appeared with a tray containing iced tea and soft drinks. He looked at Maggie, then at John and then at Maggie again, feeling the tension in the air. Hi, you are absolutely stunning, as already said John, and I am Sarah, he introduced himself. Maggie's shoulders came together and a tear rolled down her face. I really hope we can be friends, Sarah said, holding out her hand. Hi, Sarah. Hope so too. Please take care of him. He really deserves it. You are a very lucky woman, Maggie said. After that day, Maggie fell into a deep depression. Now she realized that she had finally lost a good man. Her marriage was ruined. Her own selfishness had led her to misery and loneliness. It got to the point where I had to seek help from a therapist. He was about to give up and practically refused to eat. His pain was relentless. Meanwhile, John and Sarah were enjoying the beautiful scenery while conquering the seas. This is the end of my story. Subscribe to not miss more videos like this, and remember, history is a chance to become a better person, and see you soon.